Hello, I'm Samantha Mann. Welcome to my box of issues. Goodness, needles everywhere. I suppose one shouldn't complain too much about we're here and that's the main thing, and obviously somebody's found us a tree. Good afternoon, hello, welcome to a very special edition of Box of Issues. This is the Box of Issues Christmas special. Not quite on time, but better late than never. And as the team assured me, the trees are an awful lot less expensive at this time of year. One can just pick them up for nothing, apparently. I should probably explain. Well, first of all, of course, a little word about Christmas. Not all of you will celebrate Christmas. Perhaps, I don't know where you're watching from. Christmas is a time of year when we do gather. It's a very ancient tradition. Saturnalia was, I think, before what we celebrate as Christmas. But in any case, it's a dark time of year here in the Northern Hemisphere, and it's lovely to gather in the light and the warmth and to share something of the love of humanity, if one can find it. And what I thought would be lovely would be to have a gathering here in the home studio on Christmas Day. I thought that would be rather lovely. I didn't have any other plans, and I thought, why not all of us come together here and celebrate Christmas together? We could roast some chestnuts perhaps on the gas fire, which is behind me. Somebody might be able to cook a turkey. I don't know what ingenuity we might find in the team. But as it turned out, nobody else was really... I'm not sure. They put an awful lot of effort into trying to get here, but some of them live outside London, and some of them have families, obviously, to go to. So what we've done instead we've just postponed it a little bit, and now here we are finally, celebrating the Christmas special, and we have our special guest here, Barbara Brownskirt. We did ask one or two other people, but... jolly difficult to get hold of people at this time.
Well, I couldn't have made it anyway on Christmas Day because there's no buses.
Right, so some things have obviously turned out perhaps better than we. It's rather bewildering to have somebody else in the studio here, in the shot, as it were. Barbara, we've known each other for quite a while, haven't we, Barbara?
Poetry.
That's right. I don't have an awful lot of time for poetry nowadays, what with all of the other things that I'm doing, but you're still beetling away, aren't you?
I'm on it.
So, wonderful. Have you got a Christmas, a Yuletime poem?
Let's just say a kind of work in progress. And it's a Christmas poem. It's a reimagining of, an imagining of my ex Susan's Christmas dinner, and it's called Nut Roast in a Nut Roast in a Nut Roast in a Nut Roast. There's just basically words, as it's a work in progress. So I'm just going to read them out. Take 1 firm tofu, organic brown rice, vegetable oil, onion diced, don't talk about Christ, 3 plump cloves of garlic crushed, fresh shiitake, mushrooms chopped, organic free-range eggs beaten, Diane Keaton, roasted sesame oil, bake 1 nut roast, hollow out in centre, put in a hazelnut, bake a 2nd nut roast, stuff first nut roast inside, bake a 3rd nut roast, wrap around 1st nut roast, wrap around 4th nut roast around the whole nut roast, and nut roast in a nut roast in a nut roast, thirst trap.
Well, I think we should just move on with the to the dilemma now, which is what we're here for. It's really Box of Issues function, isn't it, to serve as we were an advice series. We'll move to the advice. Thank you very much for that poem, Barbara. So this has come in from somebody who writes. It's a Christmas-themed dilemma, which is rather lovely, but obviously a little late. But as I say, that's not something we have any control over now. I'm thinking of coming out to my family as queer, this person has written. I don't see them very often. Most of them live abroad now. not sure what's chased them abroad, but it's none of my business. Do you think that Christmas would be a good time to do it? To come out as queer, coming out of the closet, I think is the phrase, isn't it, that people use. Well, I mean, it's an interesting question, isn't it? And queer is such a, I mean, it's a word, it's interesting, isn't it, to see these words rescued from the scrap heap and retooled, as it were, and put into use again as I mean, I used to use queer all the time. I feel dreadful about it now. I always thought of you as rather queer, Barbara, in your way.
No, I'm a lesbian.
Right, well, which is not exactly, I mean, that's not what I meant, but certainly that's, I mean, and presumably that's what this person, it's the sort of thing that this person is. So I asked around the team and I said, how are people using this word? And it could be any one of a number of things, apparently. So it might be that they're, as you say, lesbian, or they might be, all sorts of things. So the point is that's not for us to, it might be exactly a mixture of things. It's not for us to pry into, and perhaps this is not a moment for you to, because you're not qualified to, obviously, in the way that I am, and you're, we've heard your poetry, and poetry is really what you're. So perhaps, I mean, just if you could, for a moment, while I answer this, I'm not sure. No, Christmas is not a good time to come out as queer. I think I probably just because there's so much else going on, isn't there, Barbara? So it's a very busy time for a lot of people. Not for me, perhaps, but for a lot of people, there's so much that one has to do. So. There we are. I don't know if that...
Write a poem and slip it under your parents' door.
So that... I don't think that is a good idea, and I wouldn't have... So, but anyway, so as I say, no is my answer. And but we've got you here, Barbara. It's so lovely to have you in the studio.
You.
Perhaps we could have it just to round off before you have to catch your bus.
Yes, I brought you a present, Samantha. It's got Ms. Samantha. It's got it's a deluxe poetry edition of my work, with a worn pop sock.
What a treat.
For an immersive experience.
I do already have one of your badges, actually, so you could probably, if you wanted to. I don't know how many you've got.
Well, no, I've only got 10, so that's probably
lovely.
for the
I remember
best.
You gave me one once upon a time when we were at something together.
It was free, wasn't it?
That's quite extraordinary. Well done, wonderful that you have so many poems that you've been able to
220.
produce.
It's the best of the 220.
Right, and you have another poem for us now.
I do.
Think. So if you wanted to just...
It's inspired by... I went to an open mic night and ended up at a speed dating night. So this is an observation of a 60-second conversation that happened at that speed dating night, and this is from volume 22, Shelf Life, and it is called Same-Sex Marriage, which goes on from the dilemma.
It may or may not, we don't know the details, but...
Same-sex marriage anyway is happening. So, same-sex marriage. Donna said with a twitch that she'd had the same sex with her same-sex wife for the first 3 years of their same-sex marriage, and it was all the same, until the divorce, when she said she would never do the same again.
Quite bracing, isn't it? I wish you'd warned us that you were going to do it, because we might have had some sort of content advisory. But anyway, we can do that when we put that. Lovely. So that's been our Christmas special here at Box of Issues. I hope you've enjoyed it. Please let us know if you have. It's been wonderful having you here, Barbara. Thank you very much for stepping into the breach. We'd hoped that Sandy Toxvig might join us, but she's jolly busy and it's very difficult. I don't know exactly where she lives, but I have a feeling somewhere in... Anyway, the point is that not very, transport links aren't very easy.
She's with Claire Balding, probably.
It's not impossible. But there we are. So it's been lovely. Thank you very much, Barbara. Thank you very much all.
You're welcome.
For watching, and back to normal service next week, hopefully. Do visit the Facebook page. Look for Ms. Samantha Mann. Well, I have to admit I was expecting a more of a Christmas theme to your poetry. That was what we discussed.
Well, that's the nut roast. Sort
yes,
of covered
the nut roast,
that.
that's right.
It covered it.
I thought both of... I mean, I don't know. I just had the impression... I don't know what discussion you might have had with the team that I wasn't party to, but I thought we'd said very much Christmas theme because it's the Christmas special. So, you know, stick to the... because I know you have a whole variety of poems, and, you know, some of them I respond to better than others. And I thought that it was important to make it clear. And I thought I had made it clear, actually, before we met, that was, you know, very much Christmas themed poems, and you know, the other things we could... I know there are plenty of... I know you go to plenty of poetry
I will not
nights
be contained by the patriarchy and Jesus Christ.
Yes, we've got the nod, so I think we can go and get your bus. It'd be lovely to see you, Barbara.